Hi, today we'll be talking about sudden and unexpected death and focusing on suicide. My name is Vivian and my partner is Charmy. Today we'll be talking about what suicide is, why it is an issue, the key arguments around suicide, discussing our personal thoughts about what suicide is to us and what it means to us, giving some recommendations as to how to deal with suicide and what needs to be improved in order to raise awareness about suicide. Then we'll have a discussion about suicide. Before we begin, we'd like to define what suicide is. Suicide is the act of deliberately killing oneself.
It is hard to determine why people tumble into a pitfall where they are desperate to give up their life. We can only try to understand that it is triggered by varying circumstances, such as addiction to drugs and alcohol, intolerable stress levels, failed relationships, which is marriage with families and friends as well, physical abuse, mental illness, and traumatic events. Experiencing one of these situations is difficult. It makes it challenging to support those during troubled times without having an understanding of where to start and an appropriate way to approach a situation. The option of suicide is seen as an easy fix to the many
Today we'll
problems
be
that
talking
people may
about
face. There are 3 categories of suicide: completed, attempt, and gestures. Gestures is when a person displays hints of wanting to end their life. It would be best to try and comprehend why people feel so vulnerable to consider suicide as an option. This provides an understanding of how we may approach someone who shows signs of feeling and being suicidal. There are 2 theories which highlight the reasons why a person's mindset could lead to suicide. These theories are the sociological model devised by Emily Durkheim, who is a social psychologist and philosopher who theorized that there are 4 types of suicides. Firstly, egoistic suicide. This is caused by feeling disconnected from society. These individuals often assume that they are different from everyone else, and no one understands their personality and emotions, leaving them to feel hopeless and unimportant. This is most commonly seen in the elderly, as they are unable to leave their homes and interact with others. As a result, these older individuals believe suicide is their only option to become happy and to not feel that they are a burden to those around them. Secondly, altruistic suicide. This is when a person is willing to give up their life for a group of people or someone with greater power. This type of suicide can be seen as a heroic act or martyr, can be looked upon in a positive way, such as sacrificing their own life to save the lives of many others around them, possibly even millions, and in a negative way, where for religious reasons they become suicide bombers. Thirdly, anomic suicide. This is common when individuals lack direction in their lives, leaving these individuals to feel confused and violated, and as a result, these people would prefer to be dead. This is seen with those who have been sexually, verbally, and physically abused. And lastly, fatalist suicide. This is seen when individuals are left feeling oppressed by those who implement regulations and act as a servant, generally seen within developing countries and even possibly prisoners. On the other hand, another theorist, Sigmund Freud, proposed a psychological model which attempts to explain behavior and aspects of personality from the unconscious way of thinking. The theory describes the unconscious aspects of the individual's personality. The three elements of his theory is known as number 1, ID, where the personality is shaped by their experiences from childhood. Number 2, ego, as it is exposed to both conscious and the unconscious mind, and is to identify the demands of the ID, which is a personality shaped from experiences from childhood. And number 3, superego, which provides the understanding of how to behave in a socially responsible and acceptable way. Freud's theory is an inadequate justification for suicide behavior, as it vaguely explains the reasoning behind the unconscious and conscious mind without considering other aspects that Durkheim's theory was able to address. Freud focused on the individual's mental and emotional functioning, while Durkheim's theory is more complex. It provides greater explanation of the social factors that influences an individual's motives. Therefore, Durkheim's theory is more commonly used when explaining why people would even consider suicide, because Freud's theory is very vague and does not consider social factors which come into play with the reasoning as to why people would even think about it.
So for every suicide, it's estimated that 30 people attempt suicide. So in Australia, that would mean that 200 attempts a day, and that there is one attempt in Australia every 10 minutes. It is also estimated that 250 make a suicide plan every day, and about 1,000 people think about suicide every day. So personally, I believe that suicide is a major public health issue, and the public does not know how to approach the issues. Statistics are still increasing, and people are still attempting to commit suicide every day, and this is very concerning. In my personal experience, I've actually had a friend that has wanted to commit suicide. Whilst I wasn't qualified to help her and give her the correct information about what not to do and what to do, I was just there to support her. But at the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. I would just change the topic every time that she had these dark thoughts. I just believed that she was just having a really bad day. I brushed it off. From this experience, though, I learnt very slowly that these thoughts weren't normal, and they just got darker and darker each time. And I couldn't bring myself to help her, but just to listen. And even then, when I was listening, I was still changing the topic because I had no idea what to do. And one day, I told her, look, I think you need to see some professional help, or because I don't know why you're feeling like this. You need to talk it out with someone that knows what to do, someone that, is qualified to provide you with this information. And by that, she actually took action and went to the psychologist, and she's all good now. But I think it's really important that having my support was a good thing for her. She needed it. From my personal experience, I didn't even know what to do. There was not enough information. There was no information about what to say to someone that wants to commit suicide, but wants, besides to listen. And even if you're listening, it's what else can I do besides listen? I can't really help her. So it's a very concerning issue, because there's not enough information out there provided to us so that we can help these people, think otherwise. So it is an issue that's really overlooked by the public, and it's concerning because this issue can easily be preventable, but because it's just been overlooked by the public, it's making it harder for everyone. And nowadays, like, social media and society has so many expectations that puts a lot of pressure on these individuals to look a certain way, to, even feel a certain way. Like, this is concerning because there's an added pressure of how you should look, how you should feel, how the way you should, you should be. Like, for example, I was walking down the road and just in the shops, and I saw a bunch of 12-year-olds buying makeup. Like, I for sure was not doing that when I was 12, and this was concerning, like, just watching them buy all this makeup. I thought to myself, like, this is why society, like, there's so many people taking their lives, because there's so much expectations from these girls to look a certain way. And, from this experience, it's just a reason given to them, like, on a silver platter. So in my honest opinion, I just believe that suicide is just really overlooked by the public, and the government is just not taking enough action to prevent it from happening, even though it is preventable. You just have to give us the resources and give us the information to take it so that we can use it and prevent it from happening again. So personally, I think that the government should provide more funding for the health promotion officers to encourage people to seek help, and providing this funding can also help raise awareness about the issue, or the statistics will continue to rise. Raising awareness would benefit so many people in society. Raising awareness about what to do if you've got someone suffering from suicidal thoughts, or you personally who have suicidal thoughts, or even what to do or how to support them, would just decrease the statistics from rising. And I also suggest, like, implementing a program into high schools, because high school is a time where everyone tries to fit in, and there's so much expectations for them to fulfill. There's so much pressure on them as well to fit in. And if this program was to be implemented, it just provide them with information about what to do if they have these dark thoughts, and how to stay clear of these dark thoughts so that they don't really take their lives without really considering anything else, like consequences, with, like, when your friends suffer if you do take your life. It'd be a great idea to implement a program into high schools in particular, because that's, like, the time where you start thinking a bit more, and you're a bit more responsible with your thoughts, and you're capable of taking your life. And then if they've learnt this through high school, they can take it into their adulthood. And if someone they do know in the future, they have information, they have the knowledge about how to deal with someone who's got thoughts about suicide. I've just also put some places that anyone in the community can access or potentially get help from. Like, the Lifeline organisation is really good. They provide services to people who are suffering and people who just need a chat. There's a suicide prevention website for those that are unsure about how to support their friends or family. That's a really good website. And I also put the number of the suicide hotline for really anyone that just seems like having a really dark time and needs someone to talk to. That's a 24-hour hotline, which is really good. So just a quick discussion, if anyone is interested. We just had 2 questions that we'd like to ask. We just thought that the question should be, do you think suicide is a public health issue? And have you ever been in a situation where you needed to provide support but didn't know how yet? So that's an open discussion for anyone that's listening.